This is the Farm Monitor. For over 50 years, your source for agribusiness news and features from around the Southeast and across the country, focusing on one of the nation's top industries, agriculture. The Farm Monitor is produced by one of the largest general farm organizations, the Georgia Farm Bureau. Now here are your hosts, Ray DeLesio and Kenny Bergamy.
Well, hi there. Come on in, take a seat, or remain standing like us. Does not matter. We are just happy that you tuned in for another episode of the Farm Monitor.
So get ready to receive a wealth of agricultural knowledge. Straight ahead on the program, being that Georgia is known as the peach state, expectations are always high for growers. But what can we expect from this year's crop? Speaking of peaches, they happen to be the main ingredient this month as Ray and Marcia whip up some quick and easy recipes in the latest installment of Meals from the Field.
And then later, they refuse to let a disability prevent them from pursuing their love of showing cattle. Pierce and Cole Dutton and so much more starting right now on the Farm Monitor.
Coming off a couple of challenging years due to late freezes, peach growers around Georgia are in need of a good 2019 harvest. Damon Jones tells you how this year's crop is looking and what kind of quality consumers can expect to see.
While California might be the nation's leader in peach production, it's Georgia that officially holds the title of the peach state. However, the past 2 years have been anything but peachy for its growers as unseasonably cold weather wiped out a majority of the crop. However, the outlook for 2019 is looking much more optimistic.
You know, the last couple of years we've had some chill issues, plus we've had some late freezes that damaged a lot of our early crop, damaged a lot of our crops. So seeing peaches in May and having something to pick and something to sell and move around the state is it's exciting finally to have a good crop.
Even though these earlier varieties have been somewhat reduced by a late cold snap, growers are still expecting a big harvest overall.
Well, they bloomed a little bit later, and we had an early freeze, and these early varieties, to get them ripe in May, they bloom early, so it kind of caught them at the wrong time. But the ones we have look great. Quality's good, they're large size and sweet, so it's going to be a little slow in May for us with the varieties, the damage from the little small freeze we had, but once we get to June, July, it's going to be a bumper harvest for Georgia, I think.
And that's really good news for both producers and consumers, as there's likely to be plenty of sweet Georgia peaches on shelves in the coming months.
Past couple of years, you know, we've been 50% of a crop or less. We really feel like 80% of a crop is 100% of a crop. So I really feel like we're probably at that 80%, maybe 85%. With a lot of our later maturing varieties, which make up the majority of our, the bulk of our crop. So we ought to have really, good numbers, good yields.
The whole Southeast has a good crop of peaches, so it should not be any shortage of fruit this year, peaches in stores or straight to your farm market or wherever you want to purchase peaches this year.
While the fruit might be plentiful at the store this year, it takes plenty of hard work getting them from the fields onto the shelves.
We've had to thin, we've had to prune, and proper fertilization and spraying on peaches, so it's something we have to do every year, and a lot has to go into getting this crop to the market, and so we got a long way to go.
That is definitely not lost on the farmer, as there is still plenty of work left to be done.
When a variety is ready, it's ready, and you've got to pick it a few times, in that 1 to 2 week window. When they're ripe, that's when you got to get in there to pick it. So, getting them picked on time, and then keeping them clean with, from watching out for diseases and insects, scouting for those and making sure we stay ahead of that.
However, it's because of all that effort that Georgia is able to produce such a high-quality product year after year.
I think we got the best tasting, the best premium peaches in the country, and we're going to try to get them all over the country this year for people to taste and enjoy.
Reporting from Crawford County, I'm Damon Jones for the Farm Monitor.
Great job, Damon. And folks, do stick around. As mentioned at the top of the show, this month's Meals from the Field is dedicated entirely to peaches. Ray and Marcia have some dishes we think you're going to really like. That's coming up in less than 10 minutes.
And take it from me, the recipes are absolutely scrumptious this month. Well, for most people, canning is a hobby. For some, it might even be considered an art form. For one South Georgia woman, it's become even more. Her livelihood, as she decided to turn canning into a full-time business. John Holcomb has the story.
Meet Lori Jo Bennett. the founder of Lori Joe's, a company that makes canned products like jams, sauces, and jellies, all from scratch. Something that started out as a hobby for Lori Joe back more than a decade ago when she would can at the local high school with her friends.
I would go and carry fresh tomatoes, fresh peppers, just everything that you would need to put up salsa, spaghetti sauce, vegetable soup, all those things, and there would be just lots of my friends there. We would meet there every morning between 7 and 7:30. We would have everything that we would need, and it was just really like a social event.
It's safe to say that she was a canning fanatic. She loved it so much that she would can stuff as gifts. Little did she know that those gifts would spark an idea that would forever change her life.
I just love the art of canning and preserving, and I would do it and give it away. And that's really how the business started. My husband has a trucking company, and so there was one particular company in South Carolina that we would give gifts to, and one of their wives wanted some of, they would ask for more every year, and she was wanting to sell it at her store. And I told her, I said, you can't sell it. I said, it's not legal.
After multiple requests and realizing her true passion, she decided to go for it. She opened up this store 10 years ago with just a couple of recipes that she and her husband created and that she got from her great-grandmother.
We started the company with just that, and that was the recipe that my husband and I devised. And then we had my great-grandmother's green tomato pickles and her red and green pepper jelly. So we really started with 3 products.
From there, the business has grown and grown. Since its beginning, she has added several employees that help her with daily operations, like work out in the store, and even work back in the kitchen canning the products. That progress, though, did not come without some growing pains and a few challenges.
To go from cooking in I guess about a 20-gallon vat at the canning plant to get that recipe down to just, one little pot on the stove to get it accurate. That was so hard to do.
Through the challenges, though, she persevered. She now has nearly perfected the canning process and makes dozens of products that sources locally grown fruits and vegetables from around the area.
We're very fortunate in the fact that, like I said, we do live right here and we're able to get our produce, like our peppers and things, locally. We're able to source that locally. We have Southern Valley that's just right here, 8 miles down the road, if it's even that far, that we can, get peppers from.
Reporting in Norman Park for the Farm Monitor, I'm John Holcomb.
John, thanks so much. Well, the summer forecast calls for steady doses of rain, and while that's a good thing, it also means a few challenges for producers. UGA climatologist Pam Knox breaks it all down after this break.
Hi, my name is Pam Knox. I'm the director of the University of Georgia Weather Network and an agricultural climatologist here at the University of Georgia. And May so far has been pretty nice. You can see we're outside in the sunshine. It's been pretty dry across a lot of the state, although we do expect it to be wetter over the next few weeks. And I think we're going to see probably some heavy rain about mid-month. And so we have that to look forward to, especially in the southern part of the state. Once we get past that, I think we're going to go into a pattern of more frequent rains. Probably not all the time, but we're going to have more frequent rains coming through, which would be great because it has been dry for the last month across most of Georgia. And we've had a little bit of drought develop. I don't really see that we're going to go into a huge drought status, but it's something to keep in mind because, of course, we want to have that rain coming at regular intervals. That means there's going to be some problems more with pests and diseases because of the wet conditions than we might see in some drier years. Every year has a little bit of different mix of the problems that they can expect to see. So the wet conditions are certainly going to cause some problems with forage stands and with establishment of some crops if they're not already out there and well established. We also expect the temperatures to be above normal over the course of the next 3 months or so, probably even longer than that because we've been on that long-term trend. We're in an El Nino right now, and an El Nino means we're less likely to get a lot of tropical storms. Now, when we don't have tropical storms, or at least not as many, we tend to be a little bit drier. So I'm seeing that maybe towards the later part of the summer, we might go into more dry conditions.
In 2013, she exploded onto the scene and became an internet sensation, mostly on the Farm Monitor YouTube page. Nonetheless, her recipes using only fresh, locally grown Georgia products now forever etched on the World Wide Web. Her name, Marcia Crowley. Give it up for Marcia, everybody. Yes, applause, more applause. Marcia.
You're going to pay for that one.
I've always wanted to do the movie trailer voice. Anyway, I am superstitious and am a creature of habit. So as I say every month, welcome to another edition of Meals from the Field. And joining me as always, my good friend and partner in crime, Marcia Crowley. So, I've always wanted to do that. So.
Well, I'm so glad you got it out of your system.
Yes, I got it out of my system. But the reason why I do all that, maybe one thing that is more famous than you, fresh, locally grown Georgia peaches. Everybody knows about Georgia peaches. They come from miles and miles to get them.
And they are the best.
They are the best. So today we are doing peach recipes. What you got for us?
All right, the first thing, I mean, I've been cooking peach recipes forever, so it's getting harder and harder to come up with new things, but I think we did it. All right, I've already sauteed boneless, skinless chicken thighs. Okay. And you leave the bits in the pan.
Okay.
I'm going to add to that a half a cup of onion. I might need to turn that up just a little bit. There. Saute that. A teaspoon of fresh thyme and some hot pepper flakes. If you don't like hot pepper flakes, a lot of people don't, just leave them out.
Okay.
I happen to love them. You're going to saute those onions till they're soft, but because of time, we're going to pretend they're already soft.
I see what you did there. You used time and you said because of time.
All right, this is a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. Really what you're trying to do is loosen up those bits that are in the pan from cooking the chicken.
Okay.
And boneless, skinless chicken thighs are so good to me. They don't dry out, you know.
Right.
This is a half a cup of brown sugar. And the good thing about this recipe is it's done all in one pan, which I like, less cleanup. And
efficient too.
A teaspoon of Dijon mustard, and this makes a big difference. I don't know that I would try the spicy. I have not tried the spicy brown. All right, then you're going to add to that 2 chopped Georgia peaches. And you let that simmer a little bit, and you're going to serve it with the chicken thighs that I've already cooked.
Right.
Okay, let me turn that off so you don't.
And that's it?
That's it.
That's
it's
it
so
for that.
simple.
We got the finished product as you see there.
It's really, really good. The flavors are great.
Good.
All right, I'm going to move this, Ray,
Okay.
like that.
Yeah,
All right,
you
the
don't
next
wanna, you
thing,
don't want to poke me in my gut.
I don't
there.
want to burn you either, is a peach flatbread.
Okay.
And you can buy the flatbread in the store I shop. It's in the deli section. You can probably get it in other sections too, but it either comes round like this or two long pieces, so
Okay.
it doesn't matter. I've brushed that with olive oil. I'm going to add to that about a quarter of a cup of goat cheese and a quarter of a cup of Fontina. Both of those cheeses are very soft and they go well together. And this is such good. I had this for breakfast the other morning. It was really good. And I've not really cooked a whole lot with flatbread. It's good. It's like pizza crust. All right, then you're going to add to that about a half a cup of fresh peaches on top. You're going to bake this at 400 for about 10 minutes till the cheeses start to melt. And then you're going to top it, and I'm not going to do that because we can still eat that, with some chopped spinach.
Nice.
It's very good. I think you're going to like this one. All right, now the last one. Of all the recipes I've tried, this is probably one of my favorites. It's a peach dessert. And the crust is about 15 pecan sandy cookies that you crush, and I did it in the food processor. You can pound it with a hammer if you want to get out some frustrations.
Put it in like a Glad bag or something like that,
Yeah,
like a plastic bag.
and it's got 4 tablespoons of butter. So you do that ahead of time and put it in the fridge. All right, then let's see how I'm going to do this here.
Grab this
there
for
you
you.
go, grab that. All right, this is an 8-ounce container of
Cool Whip.
whipped topping, Cool Whip, yeah. And the first thing you do is this is 3 cups of fresh peaches that you put in a bowl with 1/4 cup of sugar, and you let it form a sugar. I mean a syrup.
A syrup.
Okay, you're going to drain that, which is what I've done, to make 1/2 cup of liquid. And you're going to add to that a tablespoon of cornstarch and put it in the microwave for like a minute. What you want to do is get really thick like that.
Kind of looks like applesauce, actually.
Yeah, it does. It's not, but it is. All right, you're going to add that to the whipped topping. This is no bake. There's nothing to bake about this. Kind of stir that in. Then
So in other words, you don't even have to, well, yeah, you don't even bake the crumbs because
no,
it's just crumbled
yeah, I mean, the
up
only
cookies and
cooking
stuff.
involved is the microwaving of the cornstarch.
Okay.
All right, that's a teaspoon of vanilla. And the 3 cups of chopped Georgia peaches. You're going to fold all that in. And you're going to pour it over that crust that you have right there. And it is super, super. Here, I'll just put it there.
I'll participate.
Hopefully it won't explode. No, but this is so good. You're going to refrigerate this till you're ready to eat it. This might be my go-to summer dessert this year. It's just that
I'm calling the bowl
easy.
now. I get to lick the bowl afterwards.
I'm saying, everybody that tried this when I made it said that is sinfully easy and sinfully good. So there you go.
And that's it.
That's it. Like I said, just refrigerate it until you're ready to use it. But there's your quick and easy dessert.
Again,
along with
quick
that.
and easy recipes using fresh, locally grown Georgia peaches. And of course, folks, you can find all these recipes by logging on to farm-monitor.com. Lots of peach recipes on there. I think that recipe list, Marcia, actually goes back probably since you first started, like 2013.
And I think it's supposed to be a good season this year, peach season.
It's always a good season with you, Marcia. But anyway, thanks so much for joining us. Good to see you
Thank you,
again. We
Ray.
shall see you next month, and we shall see you next month.
Ray and Marcia, thanks so much. Up next, 2 brothers, 2 years apart, both with the same disability and the same determination to let nothing come between them and their love for showing cattle.
Today is a new day for American agriculture. My wife and I are 5th-generation American farmers who are advocates for agriculture. And now more than ever, it's important that we understand what people think about how we grow their food and fiber. It's also important that we share our story about how we produce the food and fiber with the consumers who need it. Hi, I'm John Boltz with Desert Premium Farms in Yuma, Arizona. My family, along with our partners, grow iceberg, leaf, and romaine lettuces, as well as broccoli, cauliflower, melons, cotton, and durum wheat, and various other crops for consumers here in the United States, Canada, and across the globe. I recently joined the American Farm Bureau program Partners in Advocacy Leadership, or PALS. The PALS program puts advocacy in focus for an elite number of farmers and ranchers from across the country. PALS is a dynamic program designed to teach farmers and ranchers how to communicate with and understand their consumers better, all with a focus on telling our story to consumers and policymakers. My fellow PALS participants and I recently traveled to New York City to better understand how people far from the farm or ranch feel about and choose to buy their food. We visited with New Yorkers, we shopped where they shop, and we dined where they dine, all with a focus on understanding what they think and to understand how they view their food. We learned a lot from the opportunity to visit with hundreds of consumers at the farmers markets, roadside stands, and supermarkets, where they buy their food while seeing firsthand what's important to them. Soon, we will be traveling to other locations like Washington, D.C., to visit with policymakers and policy implementers, and even traveling beyond the borders of our country to understand what food and fiber means to farmers and consumers worldwide. We know that agriculture around the globe isn't necessarily like what we see here in the United States, and my fellow PALS participants and I are guessing that what consumers expect in other parts of the world may not be exactly what we as American consumers expect. Through this process, we will become better advocates for agriculture as a whole. So far, my PALS journey has been extraordinary, but I know we're just getting started. I became a partner in advocacy leadership with American Farm Bureau. Why? Because food has a story to tell that I need to share.
Well, finally this week, from our friends at Texas Farm Bureau comes the story of the Dutton boys.
It's an inspiration both in and out of the ring. Cole and Pierce love showing cattle, and they won't let anything get in their way, not even Duchenne muscular dystrophy.
I want to raise cattle and be a farmer. I'm Pierce Dutton, and I'm from Bernie, Texas, and I'm in 9th grade.
My name's Cole, and I'm in 11th grade.
They both love the outdoors, and they love to show cattle and hunt. My son Pierce showed cattle first, and I think it was the first 4-H project he ever had, was a steer.
I've been doing it for like 6 years. Yeah, it's very fun.
They started coming to the majors about 4 years ago. And San Antonio was the first major show that we brought them to, and it was a really good experience.
You buy them probably in like March or April, and then you just start feeding them and seeing how they turn out. And
they both showed goats for a year before they showed cattle. So Cole has probably shown cattle now for either 4 or 5 years.
I just wanted to do something bigger. They're a lot more fun to me. Usually get home and we'll go down to the barn and then we brush them and comb them and get them ready, and then we'll walk them usually. And then after we walk them, we usually work with the show stick a little.
They were diagnosed when Cole was in kindergarten. One of his teachers in kindergarten had noticed that he had trouble keeping up with the kids, and we hadn't really noticed it to the degree she did. It's a complicated disease, and there's no cure for it, and there's really no treatment for it either. We have to help them feed and do all those daily chores, but they're there all the time. But they work with them, and we kind of get them used to the chairs and the noise and the movement. And then as soon as we can, we'll halter break them if they're not already halter broke, and just start exposing them to the chairs and walking with the boys. And you really just have to not concentrate on the obstacles, but look at all the other things. And then you can figure a way out around the obstacles.
Even though you're in a wheelchair, you can still show and do stuff.
Yeah, just whatever you like to do, do it.
Absolutely amazing, aren't they? Well, that's going to do it for this week's edition of the Farm Monitor.
Here's a reminder for all the latest ag info regarding food, great recipes, and what's happening down on the farm. Be sure you check out our Twitter, Facebook, and Pinterest pages. You'll stay informed and see what's up in the world of farming and with us here on the show.
Take care, everybody. We'll see you next week right here on the Farm Monitor.
As always, have a great week.